the Epstein documents have been subpoenaed by the House Oversight Committee. And this is basically kind of a middle finger to, Trump and Pam Bondi, who didn't want anything more released, but there was enough Republican and Democrat pushback that they did issue subpoenas on the Epstein estate and on the DOJ as well. But most of the documents that we're talking about today have come from the Epstein estate, some 33,000 of them. And the Democrats are now salivating over the latest releases. And I'll read what they say, but my overall take on this, Batya, is why didn't Trump just release these? Just release them. Just release them, right? Like now he's in the position of being like singled out as the only one, allegedly, as opposed to one of a slew of names. The Democrats, of course, are going to make a ton of hay over it. And I don't know that there's any there whatsoever, but I concede that they sound bad. They don't sound good. If I were a Democrat, I could easily make some hay with these, which they will. They won't be doing fair and balanced reporting on these over on MS or CNN, et cetera, right? So it's like, to me, this is a self-inflicted wound by the Trump administration, and it was unnecessary. Okay, so here's where things stand. There are 3 emails that are getting a lot of attention. Hold on. The teeniest tiny little font. It's a very small font on my, look at it. Look at the report has nice big font up here. And then the teeny tiny font. Like, honestly, even when I was 20, I'm not sure I could have read that without my readers. Okay, here we go. There's one. This one's from from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell, his right-hand woman and sometimes affair partner, dated Saturday, April 2nd, 2011. And he writes to her, I want you to realize that dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Insert name of victim that's been redacted. That'll come back in our discussion. So just victim. Spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. Now, I don't know what I'm 75% there means other than possibly he's 75% ready to tell authorities about Trump or something. But this is before Trump was running for office. He was just a businessman and a celebrity apprentice host back then, an apprentice host. And this is post Jeffrey Epstein's sweetheart deal, that he cut with the Trump administration a couple years later. And but the trouble had arisen back in 2008, 2009 originally. So I'm just trying to get my facts straight of when the actual deal was cut under the Trump administration, Alex Acosta, but the trouble started back in 2008 and 2009 when he first got arrested. So there's been a sequence of events. In any event, this is him saying that allegedly this is the dog that won't hunt, that some victims spent hours at Epstein's house with Trump, and Trump has never once been mentioned by anyone, including the police chief. That's one. I guess we can just start there. The fact that the word victim is redacted is quite telling, Batya. And what we're seeing from House Republicans who are responding to the Democrats' immediate attempt to try to play this up is the following. House Oversight Committee tweets out the following, or at least the GOP. Why did Democrats cover up the name of the alleged victim when the estate, Jeffrey Epstein's estate, which produced this document, did not redact it in the redacted documents provided to the committee? So this was a Democrat redaction, not an Epstein estate redaction. And they wrote, it's because this victim, Virginia Giuffre, they out, publicly said she never witnessed wrongdoing by President Trump. Democrats are trying to create a fake narrative to slander President Trump. Shame on them. Just for context, Julie K. Brown, the Miami Herald reporter who's broken tons of stories about Epstein, says the 3 emails were written during critical times in Epstein's life. We'll get to the other 2. But as for this one, in 2011, she says it was written when the FBI was beginning to suspect that the crimes Epstein committed in Florida in the early 2000s went beyond those he committed in Palm Beach. So that's where it stands now. Because they were sniffing around him in 2008. I believe he signed that sweetheart deal in 2009. And then it all came back again in 2015 leading into 16. Trying to remember when he was first added as having done much, much more. But in any event, the original trouble was 08, 09. And she's pointing out he's cut this deal in Palm Beach, and the FBI by 2011 was starting to suspect that those crimes were just the tip of the iceberg. So what do you make of the redaction of the alleged victim from this very, very damning email, Batya?
It's so hilarious to me because they knew if they left her name in, this would be totally dismissed because she has been revealed to be a serial fabricator who had to literally recant her testimony against Alan Dershowitz. She's made up so many things. Her book was initially supposed to be a novel because so much of it was just absolute fabrications. Unfortunately, she took her own life. It's very sad, obviously very troubled. But the idea that this is somehow like a smoking gun for Trump, I think is so utterly ridiculous. To see the Democrats racing to take the word of an actual pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein, just so they can smear Donald Trump. It's just so gross. It's like when they went to the trough of Michael Cohen and elevated him as some sort of truth teller because they thought it would hurt Donald Trump. I just think if this is all they could find in there on Donald Trump and Epstein, Trump is in a really good place. We know that he kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago because he thought he was a creep. So the idea that it's somehow some smoking gun, that he thought he was a creep, I think is so totally ridiculous. The replacement of her name with the word victim tells you everything you need to know. So much of this story is just classic Me Too overreach. There was that ridiculous press conference where they had woman after woman after woman come up and say, I was a Jeffrey Epstein victim. Half of them, Megyn, met Jeffrey Epstein after they were already adults. The idea that they are the victims of pedophilia, it's just, everyone should read Michael Tracy's reporting on this. He's just been absolutely, absolutely great, just holding their feet to the fire. And it's just so funny to see the right running with what is a classic Me Too overreach story because they thought the Democrats were sort of holding back on them. It turns out they are now. That redaction tells you everything you need to know.
The Virginia Giuffre thing is amazing. That the fact that they redacted that is just incredible to me. First of all, she outed herself as an Epstein victim. Like, you don't have to protect the identity of a victim when she's outed herself as a victim. Mm-hmm. And they know this rule because I hate to bring her up, but let's just take Gretchen Carlson, who claims she was a victim of Roger Ailes'. And CNN and the Democrats, they had her testify before Congress. They didn't say, witness in shadow, because she outed herself as an alleged victim. And Virginia Giuffre has been, before she died, all over the news. She wrote a memoir, she gave tons of interviews. Why would they redact her name if that is in fact the name, as the GOP members of the House Oversight Committee are saying, given the fact that she'd already been outed? So this is ridiculous. And it does suggest there was an ulterior motive. Here's the thing about Virginia Giuffre, and I've said this every time her name has come up since we launched this show in 2020. In 2020, I had on Alan Dershowitz right after we launched. He's a longtime friend, and I saw him come under fire by Virginia Giuffre, and I knew it was a lie, Batya. I've known him a long time. And when you hear a denial that you know is true, it sounds very different from a denial that you think is not true. Just by case in point, we did a report yesterday morning on AM Update about those two baseball players who were accused of throwing balls instead of strikes in certain innings to let people bet on the pitch. And the MLB, to its credit, saw that certain betting would go up in a certain inning on this one closer and this one starter for this team. And they conducted an investigation to see if there was some funny business going on. And sure enough, they concluded there was. They referred it to law enforcement. Now these two guys have been charged. Their denials are both like, he is innocent. He would never do anything to undermine his chances in a game. That is not what a truth teller sounds like. A truth teller says, I never threw a pitch in coordination with any bet anywhere. I always threw my best pitch and the appropriate one for the moment and never reaped any or sought any reward therefore. Okay. The denials that Alan Dershowitz issued to Virginia Giuffre sounded like this. I never slept with her ever anywhere. I never slept with any woman other than my wife ever, anywhere. And there will never be a recording or any proof whatsoever that I did, because I didn't. I am factually innocent of the charges against me, and I demand that she come forward with proof that I was where she says I was on these dates. When she didn't, he produced his own date books showing he couldn't have been in the places she was alleging. And here is how the Virginia Giuffre allegation, keep in mind, we're talking about this because now it appears she's being used by the Democrats as Trump's alleged accuser, that this is how Virginia Giuffre decided to ruin Alan Dershowitz's life. The first email between Giuffre and a journalist named Sharon Churcher happened in May of 2011. Okay, right around the time this email between Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell happened, by the way. And this journalist was trying to help Virginia Giuffre sell a book that she was writing then about her experiences with Epstein. Giuffre writes the following email to Sharon Churcher. Hi, Sharon. We're drawing up a contract through her agent right now and getting busy to meet my deadline. I don't know who her agent is. And getting busy to meet my deadline. Just wondering if you have information on you from when you and I were doing interviews about the JE story. I wanted to put the names of some of the assholes, I mean to say pedos, that Jeffrey Epstein sent me to. With everything going on, my brain feels like mush, and it would be a great deal of help. Churcher responded, don't forget Alan Dershowitz. We all suspect Alan is a pedo. And though no proof of that, you probably met him when he was hanging out with J.E. That is what was behind the Giuffre accusation that ruined Alan's life. People still think he was an Epstein sex trafficker. It's a fucking lie. And while I don't doubt Virginia Giuffre that she fell within the crosshairs of Jeffrey Epstein and was used and abused by him because he was a serial user and abuser, I don't believe one word she said about Alan Dershowitz. And she lied repeatedly about the age she was when she had encounters with the Epstein connections and so on. That's all been caught. Like ages she would know that were, she was off by several years that would have made the difference between whether she was a minor or an adult and so on. And that's the woman who now the Democrats want to use as, I guess, their smoking gun against Trump. And here's just one more piece. Okay, one more thing about Giuffre. She published a posthumous memoir. She killed herself. She died by suicide last year. And she was working on a memoir at the time. And she had a co-writer who was ghostwriting it for her, Amy Wallace. And here is what her posthumous memoir titled Nobody's Girl says about Trump, writes about Trump. She describes meeting Trump once at Mar-a-Lago, where her father worked, but does not accuse Trump of wrongdoing. Trump, quote, could not have been friendlier, Giuffre said, adding that he offered to help her find babysitting work. Then the co-author, Amy Wallace, who finished the book off, was asked whether Giuffre ever accused Trump of wrongdoing during their private conversations. Wallace answered, quote, Virginia, never talked about him in any sense that he was involved in any of this, end quote. Then she goes on to say, quote, as far as she knew, and again, she was there for 2+ years, meaning Virginia, but as far as Virginia knew, Trump was not involved in the ring of trafficking that Epstein was working. That is why the Democrats redacted the name Virginia Giuffre from this alleged smoking gun email. It's the one time of year that Birch Gold Group gives away free gold with every qualifying purchase. That's right, for Black Friday, when you convert an existing IRA or 401k in whole or in part into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold, Birch Gold will send free gold to your home for every $20,000 purchased. Gold started this year around $2,600 an ounce. By October, it was over $4,000 an ounce. Why? Global uncertainty. 2025 has been defined by trade wars. Central banks are pulling from the U.S. dollar as the global reserve currency, and military tension continues to build. Gold thrives in times of uncertainty, and if you are looking to diversify your savings, Birch Gold can help you. Plus, now through November 30th, get free gold with a qualifying purchase. Just text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility and for a free info kit on gold. But your opportunity for free gold with purchase will end on November 30th. So don't wait. Text MK to the number 989898 for full details. Message and data rates may apply. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.